The deal of a lifetime. Lisa and Mark, a young couple, are thrilled to find a spacious apartment at a fraction of the market price. The unit is in a historic building with large windows, hardwood floors, and an unbeatable location in the heart of the city. It almost seems too good to be true. When they meet the landlord, Mr. Elwood, his demeanor strikes them as strange. He's overly eager to rent the place and brushes off any questions about the history of the building. "The price reflects the quirks of the place," he says with a dismissive wave. Despite his vague responses, the couple is enchanted by the charm and affordability of the apartment and signs the lease without hesitation. On their first night, Lisa remarks how quiet the building is for being in a busy part of town. Mark jokes, "Maybe all the neighbors are ghosts." Lisa laughs nervously, but deep down, the silence feels unnerving. Strange beginnings. Their excitement fades as odd occurrences begin almost immediately. On their first night, Mark wakes up to the sound of footsteps coming from the apartment above. When he mentions it to Lisa the next morning, she reminds him the landlord said the unit above them was unoccupied. The second night, Lisa hears faint whispers while brushing her teeth. It's so quiet she can't make out the words, but loud enough to make her stop and look around. She convinces herself it's the pipes or thin walls, but the unease lingers. A few days later, Lisa finds one of their dining chairs moved across the room. She assumes Mark was playing a prank, but he denies it. "Stop scaring yourself," he says. "It's an old building. Things shift." The locked room. One evening while unpacking boxes, Lisa and Mark notice a locked door at the end of the hallway. It's small, almost hidden, and they hadn't paid much attention to it before. Mark tries the handle, but it doesn't budge. They call Mr. Elwood, who claims he lost the key years ago. "The door hasn't been opened in decades," he says flatly. "There's nothing in there. Best to leave it be." Lisa, however, feels drawn to the door. At night she dreams about it, a recurring vision of a pale hand knocking softly from the other side. The dreams grow more vivid, and Lisa begins to wake up with a cold sweat, convinced she heard the knocking in real life. Friendly presence. As days turn into weeks, Lisa's unease transforms into curiosity. She starts talking out loud to the presence in the apartment. "Okay, ghost roommate," she jokes one day, after finding her keys moved to a spot she swears she didn't leave them. "At least help with the rent." Oddly, she begins to feel comforted by the presence. When Mark is at work, she senses she isn't alone, but doesn't feel threatened. Mark, on the other hand, is growing more irritable. He complains of cold drafts at night and claims he feels someone watching him when he's alone. The tenant files. One afternoon, while reorganizing a closet, Lisa discovers an old box of documents tucked behind a loose panel. Inside, she finds yellowed photographs, faded letters, and a diary. The name Eleanor is scrawled on the first page of the diary. As Lisa reads, she learns that Eleanor was a young woman who lived in the apartment during the 1950s. The diary entries paint a picture of a woman trapped in a toxic relationship with a jealous lover. The final entry abruptly ends with, "I can't live like this anymore. If he locks me in here again, I might not survive. How can I go on?" Lisa feels a pang of sympathy for Eleanor and becomes determined to learn more about her. Mark, however, is less interested. "Why dig up the past?" he says. "It's probably just a sad story. Let it go." The apparition. One stormy night, Lisa sees a figure in the hallway. It's faint and translucent, but unmistakably a woman in a vintage dress. She doesn't feel fear, only a strange sense of calm. The figure doesn't speak, but gestures toward the locked door before vanishing. Lisa tells Mark about the encounter, but he brushes it off. "You've been reading too much about this Eleanor," he says. "You're letting your imagination run wild." But Lisa can't ignore what she saw. She's convinced that Eleanor is trying to tell her something. The key to the truth. Determined to unlock the door, Lisa searches the apartment. In the attic, she finds a rusted key hidden in an old toolbox. Her hands tremble as she inserts it into the lock. The door creaks open, revealing a small, dusty room. The air inside is heavy, almost suffocating. An old bed frame, a cracked mirror, and a few scattered belongings are all that remain. On the floor, she finds Eleanor's diary, partially burned. The entries describe how Eleanor's lover locked her in the room during fits of jealousy, cutting her off from the outside world. Lisa feels a wave of sorrow and anger. "She didn't deserve this," she whispers. Mark's behavior changes. Mark begins to act strangely after the door is unlocked. He becomes withdrawn and starts staying up late, staring at the locked room. One night, Lisa wakes to find him standing in the hallway, muttering Eleanor's name. When she confronts him, Mark denies any memory of it, but his behavior grows more erratic. He becomes paranoid, claiming he sees shadows moving in the apartment. Lisa starts to suspect that Mark is being influenced by the spirit of Eleanor or something darker. The final confrontation. Eleanor's presence becomes more forceful. Messages appear on mirrors, objects fly off shelves, and the apartment feels colder than ever. Lisa decides to perform a cleansing ritual to free Eleanor's spirit. As she lights candles and recites prayers, Mark storms into the room, his eyes wild. "Stop it!" he screams. "She doesn't want to leave!" In a horrifying moment, Mark reveals he's been possessed, not by Eleanor, but by her jealous lover. The entity refuses to let Eleanor go, insisting, "She belongs to me." The chilling twist. Just when it seems Eleanor's spirit is helping Lisa, the atmosphere shifts. Eleanor's figure appears, and for the first time she speaks, "I don't want to leave." Lisa realizes too late that Eleanor never wanted freedom, she wanted revenge. The story ends with Eleanor possessing Lisa, using her body to remain in the world. Mark collapses to the floor, and the apartment falls silent, except for Lisa's final, blood-curdling scream.